Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
According to plan, you have captioning available to you now from home. It may be whether you want it or not, I don't know. Those here in the room have captioning too, so if you don't understand what I'm saying, see if you can read it off the screen. My name is Bucky Walsh. This is the Albemarle County Electoral Board meeting, February 19th, 2026. And we're having a called meeting and not a regular meeting in response to the April 21st special election that's going to be held for the purposes of a constitutional amendment. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. I observe the presence of a quorum. And I ask my fellow board members, what do you think about the agenda that we have as proposed? Would you like to make any changes?
We actually don't have any place on here that says planning for April 21st. And I think that
there is the April 21st special election under new business.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't have the word planning. If you could assume that.
No. Okay.
It looks fine. It looks
good. Albemarle County Public Schools full and other really places other than.
But yeah, K-Tech, I guess.
K-Tech and Slaughter.
Okay. Can we take this as good to go?
Yep.
Very good. We have the opportunity for brief announcements from the board and the registrar. So I'm going to announce that the Virginia Supreme Court has said that we will be having an election on April 21st, and they may or may not decide after that whether it counts. So we're going to proceed in full election mode all the way through the process, doing our part. That's it for me. Anybody else?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Members of the public, of whom we have many here in the room. Those of you on screen can't see the hordes of people who are here. I believe every chair nearly has a person in it. Anyone from the public care to speak? Lewis?
Yeah, I have a question. Lewis Jobs, I have a question for the registrar office. A lot of things have been out lately about naturalizing election. I know that the problem could not happen, but is there anything that the registrar office is doing to educate the general community about, you don't need birth certificate, you don't need a photo ID, just because some people are not educated about the voting process. So with the registrar office, maybe put something out there that this naturalizing theory that's going around does not affect the election.
I'm not familiar with the theory. What is the theory going around?
The theory is that the federal government would want to take over elections and have people to prove citizenship, birth certificate, IDs, that type of thing. You have not heard of anything about that?
I've not heard that.
The federal government, I think it's the SAVE Act, has included one of its provisions that you'd have to show this, and it's passed the House. It's unlikely, I think, to pass the Senate. And whether it would be constitutional or not is another question, because generally the states are responsible for running elections.
That is correct. My question would be, is anything to maybe educate the general community, because a lot of people could get confused. And that also leads to my next question. Have there been any maybe security surrounding ICE that may show up at polls? So just the fact that those are two questions.
Now, for the first one, I can take a look at the SAVE Act and see if there's anything that we can do that we aren't doing. But online, it clearly tells people what the acceptable IDs are, now. So unless the SAVE Act passes, then what we have will stand. And so talking about ICE, I can't talk about ICE. I don't know. I mean, I understand what you're saying is you're saying about them coming to the polls.
Yeah.
I'm hearing something. I'm not hearing anything about that. However, what we do have, it's not necessarily related to ICE, but we do have the county police department and the sheriff's department. We have an emergency preparedness meeting before the election. So if something like that comes up there, but we do have planned, we will have that meeting. So those are the kind of things that we would discuss there.
Okay.
Louis, if I may, you have to be a citizen to vote.
Understood.
And ICE has no authority to come into a polling place unless they're registered voters in that polling place, because that's where we're doing voting. Now, it doesn't mean somebody could not show up and force their way in, but our response would be to call for police backup. Any other questions? Let's see, got a couple people waiting to get on.
Thank you. Thank you.
You
Okay, then let's move on. We're going to look at the minutes from February 4th at our next meeting. So old business reorganization of 202 University Polling Place. I'm going to meet with the team at University right here in this room on the 5th of March in the evening, and we'll map out the process to be used. So that's my update.
You say that's March 5th?
March 5th. Next item under, okay.
I will say that things look like they are moving along. First contact with the person in charge of Slaughter Rec Center, which is the university precinct, was this is not going to be available. We have classes in those rooms on April 21st. Well, we have an election there on April 21st. Things have been moving along well, thanks largely to Andrea sending to that manager of the site the letter of understanding signed back in 2018 between the executive vice president of UVA and us, saying that that room will be, or that site will be available for November elections and for special elections. And this is a special election. So the manager of the site has moved things up to the provost's office, and he said he will be working on making those rooms available for us on April 21st. So things are moving along well in that regard.
Anything else? Pertaining to university, okay. DS300 error follow-up. We had a team of folks from ES&S, the manufacturer of the DS300, They fired up the DS300s, the three DS300s that had failed and had been sequestered, locked down, not touched since the last election. They all came up in the failed state, which was, yes, in one sense refreshing. You'd hate for them to come up looking fine. We rebooted them, put new configurations in the devices, and they proceeded to start entering ballots in them. And 370 or so ballots in, one of them failed again, exactly the same way. This particular problem, they reported that they have observed in 12 different units out of the 15,000 they have manufactured. And the report was that we were the only site that had more than one. Lucky us. Those three machines have been replaced with new hardware. The old machines have been shipped back to them. They were delighted to see the failure, because having a machine that they can get to fail again gives them something they can test against. Have we, whatever solutions they apply, have those solutions actually fixed the problem. The approach that they were looking at, there are two possible ideas. First off, our original thought was perhaps the USB sticks that go in the DS300s that have the configuration for the election, and onto which are written the results and images of each ballot during the course of the day. So there's constant communication going on with those USB sticks. We thought there might be something wrong with these USB sticks we were using. They were older sticks. And their opinion is, no, that's not the case. That it's not the sticks, it's something in the communication hardware or software that talks to the USB devices. And that it obviously is not rampant in their system, having had so few failures, but they've got some piece of electronics or some piece of software that's just too close to the edge of its parameters and doesn't always work. So they're going to be looking at whether it's a software patch or a hardware patch. Surprisingly, a software patch would take longer to deploy because there's certification they have to do and the certification at each state that they have to do, and then you have to push this out to machines. Whereas a hardware patch, they send out a new module, you replace one piece of broken hardware with another piece of hardware. You test that in situ, you're good to go. The qualification standards are a little bit different because pieces of hardware break from time to time. So it's accepted that those can be replaced. Anyway, they're trying to determine that in any event, they won't have any changes or updates to the DS300s out in the field in time for either of the next, the April 21st election or the primary. If it's a hardware fix, they might have something before November. And if it's a software thing, it would not be until next year. But still, it's a very low incidence. I am guardedly optimistic that we will not see this again. As a counter example, we ran more than 17,000 ballots through the early voting machine, and it didn't experience this problem. So that's what I have. Janelle, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I was just really glad to see that they were able to
Replicate the problem.
repeat the error. Good, and one thing I thought they were really concerned also.
Oh, yeah.
They were very concerned about it. They were very genuine, and they were also glad to see that
They were delighted when it failed.
Exactly.
Just a screen that was so horrible on November last year was a screen of delight in testing. So situational, it's a good example of it just depends on what the situation is.
Now they don't think it's the thumb drives.
No.
But we did get new thumb drives, correct? There was that issue. Did we get the
We have gotten
Carolina blue thumb drive?
We've gotten new thumb drives with the 3 new machines that came. We have seen no sign of the thumb drives that should have come with the machines we have. And we asked the question, which Tyler was to be following up on, and they actually shipped them to us. So I haven't heard back on that yet. Have you? That would be a good thing to follow up with Tyler on.
Okay.
Because if we do have new thumb drives, I assume we want to use new thumb drives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, we need not just a set of thumb drives, we need a couple of sets of thumb drives.
Yeah.
So that we can, in a recount situation, or if you get back-to-back elections like we could have this year election situation, you can always have the old set preserved until you're done with them, or theoretically done with them.
So he said the new set should have come with the machines when we purchased them.
Yes, and as an example, the 3 machines that arrived came with 3 thumb drives.
Right.
So,
And it was my understanding from Tyler that we did get a whole new set of thumb drives, but it seems to have.
they think we did.
Yeah,
They do think.
If you recall the arrival of the DS300s last year, they came in spurts.
Mhm.
We got some of the machines and the rest of the machines, then we got the housings for them, then we got the rest of the housings for them. And I just wonder if one of the spurts went astray and never got shipped to us, because the thumb drives were shipped separately from the devices. At least in this case, they were. Dr. Wheeler, you have a question?
I do, Mr. Chairman. A compliment to the board. We insisted, the electoral board insisted that we have 3 spare machines. The argument could be made, why do you need spare machines and why did you get more, and debate that all day. But it's ironic that we had 3 spare machines and we had 3 machines that tanked in the middle of the day.
I'm not going to see any correlation there. It was
Well,
just
not-
fortunate, good fortune.
Yeah, time and space, but we were very fortunate, because if we'd had a 4th machine go bad, we would have had no machine to replace it. I mean, we could have made adjustments, but it would have been a scramble.
Yes, we would have taken one of the machines that we were going to use subsequent to the election out of
Like the
service.
provisional ballot
Yeah.
machine.
We would have taken another one. So, yes.
Sorry, man.
I didn't totally, I know, I've got to turn this way, huh? I've been told, I don't personally know this, but I've been told by people in Charlottesville City that each precinct on election day has two machines in each precinct.
If
And
you
I know
have
that's-
voters, that would make sense. I mean, we've
Well, I
had,
don't know that they have enough voters. They just always have a spare machine in each. I know that they have significantly fewer precincts than we do.
Yeah.
I'm only asking because I haven't heard it ever discussed at a board meeting in the years I've been doing this, whether that was ever entertained, discussed. I know obviously it's a bigger financial outlay, but other than that, has it ever been discussed, or is that something?
the DS-200s, which were the previous machines, were real bricks. I mean, they just did the job. You get an occasional ballot jam, but otherwise and the DS-300s, with the exception of these three,
No, I
have
understand.
performed more or less the same way. So prior to this last election, we never would have had a rationale to justify that thought. I'm optimistic that the guys at ES&S are telling us the truth, that there have been, the failure rate is very low, 12 out of 15,000. And that doesn't justify, in my mind, having additional machines at each site.
But has the board ever discussed that?
To my knowledge, we have not, certainly not since I've been on.
We bought machines for, I think, 3 precincts in order to have 2 machines at those 3 precincts. One being University, one being Baker Butler. I forget the other.
Brownsville or something.
Ivy. But we have only shipped more than one machine to a precinct, I think, in presidential elections.
We have seen the voter turnout in the polling places dropping off as people are coming to early voting. So even though our overall number of registered voters is going up, disproportionate number of people are coming to early voting. And so the actual number of folks who turn up at the polling places is dropping. Again, making it harder to justify having a second machine there. But if we experience similar difficulties this time, we will have many conversations about what we should be doing differently. Anything else on the DS-300s?
Janelle, do you have any thoughts about this cost issues about having these additional machines that were suggested? Is that something that would be in the budget?
It is. I spoke with Lori Vincent. She's our budget manager for our department. And I told her that, I reminded her that we put a line item in the budget just for this election in case it happened. And I was letting her know that it did happen and it is going to happen. And so, and I asked her, I told her that I'm spending money, a lot of money to get supplies and these other things. And I said, how are we budget wise? She said she's absolutely not worried at all. So, and she also said that the August election falls into the next fiscal year. So that helps us as well. But the only place that I was concerned about was staffing. I think the budget for part-time help will go up significantly, but we did plan for that. And she said that we're fine. She has no issues whatsoever. Well,
So your question is, do we have enough money to buy more machines if we want to buy more machines?
Right.
if we do, she said we do what we need to do.
Well, maybe we.
Now, obviously, there's going to be a question about how many. Of
Right.
course, now that's when it becomes,
One, not so bad.
Exactly.
30?
Exactly.
Then you've
But
got transporting them because you can't fit 2 machines.
You can easily take just the scanner part. I actually videoed the process of removing it and popping it. It's literally undo the key, slide the scanner out, unplug from the back of the scanner the cord, and you're done. And you put the replacement on the same way. So, and you could carry a whole bunch of just the scanner parts in a car.
Let me clarify, if we opened up a discussion about buying more machines, the budget department would be. So,
Okay. Well, as you say, we can discuss it at a later time.
Well, yes, just putting a pin in this. If we're having additional machines because these fail, then I would question if we shouldn't have different machines. If they, you get a random failure once in a while, okay, every device can fail. But if it's persistent enough that we need to have on-site backups for everyone, we need different hardware.
My understanding is these are the most used optical scan machines in the whole country. It's my understanding.
Okay, let's move along. New business, the April 21st special election planning board. Jim, you had wanted to make sure I had the ballots to order on the question on the
Yes,
agenda.
the code says that we are supposed to approve the ballot order. I'm not seeing the ballot.
Sorry, the back didn't print, I did.
It's like you
But
have-
the grand total on the front is for.
That's it.
The grand total on the front is on.
And
Well, that's a lot of ballots.
That's it.
could you, what percentage is this of the total registered voters?
It's 80 of the grand total, it's 80%.
And does this include, I don't have the backside, does this include ballots for mailing out absentee?
Yes, the folded are here and folded ballots are here, and that's actually closer to 75%.
That, I'm sorry, I didn't follow that last number.
For the absence, for the absentee, for the grand total, it's 80%. For the absentee, it's actually about 75%. Of the number of absentee, but of the number of absentee voters that we have, I ordered 75%.
The number of absentee voters we have, is that the number who are on the permanent list or the number who have voted absentee in the past?
That's the number on our lists. We have 7,000, just over almost 7,100.
Why wouldn't we order 100% for that?
I ordered, and rather than order 100% folded, I upped the number of flat. So if we need to fold a ballot or two, we could do that.
Is there a circumstance where somebody would be on the absentee list and we
And they
wouldn't
would
send them a
receive it,
ballot?
yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I have that many.
Oh,
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You mean as far as the mail out goes?
Right.
Yeah, I have enough to mail out.
Oh,
Absolutely,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
It's 7,028, actually. I have those.
But
That's what I'm saying.
why does this say 6,200?
Between fold and flat, you've got 9,200.
I don't know. Take a look at let me take a look at the other page that didn't print out. Sorry.
Okay. Is it,
It's really the wrong number.
is there time to order more or to get more in?
If we
Okay,
need them,
if we need
yes.
them,
If we
yeah.
need them, or I would just fold some flat ones.
Right, okay.
It's not that much difference.
I think you have plenty of balance here.
Also, your election day, yeah, I was curious as to how you came up with that 80% number.
Well, I looked back at what we did for the general election and the primary ahead of before that, and then I talked to Bucky about it also. What we thought would be the best. Or Bucky, I think you said 70%.
Yeah, that's what I said we had done for the previous election.
Exactly, and so then I checked that with the previous orders, and it's a little bit higher. I just went up just a little bit. I have to say, I actually am not sure. I mean, I know that conventionally that we believe that it's going to be a low turnout.
No,
I
for
have no
this
idea.
election, we
I
have
have
no prior
idea.
data.
And so I upped the amount just a little.
And you're still ordering 11-inch long ballots, not 14.
Yeah, these are all 11. These are not 15.
Have you put in an order with these folks or someone else for blank paper for the print on demand machines?
I did print elect. They have their minimum is 500, so we've got 500 for that, and then they also are sending 30,000. That was the number that I had just picked the number from last year of the ballot stock for the print on demand.
So you'll be more than covered.
Correct.
What was that first number you mentioned?
For the express vote sheets, 5,000.
Oh,
is the
express-
minimum.
Gotcha.
5,000 is the minimum. Yeah.
But the nice thing about the express vote is that can be stock we would use any other time we needed short stock.
And just out of curiosity, I remember that when we first signed the contract with Printellect, I think I believe, I remember correctly that the cost per ballot based on the 8.5 by 14 was 21 cents a ballot. Are we paying more than that now?
I haven't, or I haven't got.
And the quote, I move to approve this ballot order as presented by the registrar.
Making sure, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. I think we were about to say the same thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just making sure that if you find that you do need more of the folded absentee ones, you'll get them.
As amended.
Yeah, right. Second.
Jim? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's not plan to send out all of those to the polling places because they will have way too many ballots. And we can, if somehow or other, somebody thinks they're getting low, we will have stock back here that we can get it out to them. Just to cut down on the amount of stuff they have, and really assuming that the turnout is going to be low, I would say not send 2,000 ballots to a place that's going to have 75 voters.
By the time we get to stocking the cages to send that stuff out, we'll have a good beat from how early voting is going in terms of what the turnout's likely to be. So we'll have better information as we get closer to election day.
Okay.
Look at that, the caption capitalized it, election day.
Yeah.
Oh, precious. Janelle, before I move on to the training plan, do you want to talk about just dates in general? Because training is a part of that.
I do.
Dates.
I'm sheets for everybody. I just wrote this out by hand until it's finalized a little bit more. And then I'll put it on in the computer.
Your calendar pages.
Yes. So I remember the board talking about maybe truncating the training to not necessarily have all the full training that we had before because of training fatigue, maybe, thinking ahead that we have another election right behind this, which early voting will begin in June, August 11th. And then we have November, we have a short lull between that and November, but not much. So what I did was, I taking a look at the plan that you had sent earlier, and then what was done last year, I created kind of a pattern that I saw that you had most of the training days on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you were doing a lot of the machine work on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then sometimes a Saturday. So that's what I did. So the highlights here are the first testing would be Monday. Tyler will be here. I spoke with him, and he is going to bring the media, which was burned earlier this week for us. And he's also going to bring the test decks. And I asked about the number of the test decks, and they told me it was going to be about 150 because there's only 2 tests.
Hang on, number of test decks.
I'm saying the number in the test deck.
In the test deck.
I even 100.
She said.
Guess you gotta have.
Yes, you got 2
Yes, you
yeses.
gotta have one for each ballot style.
We have
You
one
got
ballot.
overvote and undervote. Yes, no. So there's 120 times 4.
Right. Okay. So backing up, you're saying that
Oh, and all blank.
the LNA this is just for the machines that will be used in absentee and early in person.
Yes,
That is going to be Monday.
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 Poll pads.
Day, okay, Monday, which day?
Oh, Monday, the 23rd.
Well,
And then also-
unfortunately, I will miss that.
And also, please add the cap machines there. And do you normally, do you do anything with cap there? Because I
We
couldn't.
qualify all the machines that can be used for any poll, for any ballot style.
Okay,
all
gotcha.
At the same time,
Got it.
which usually is 7 DS300s.
Okay, gotcha.
And that includes spares.
Okay, gotcha. So the cash.
You're just running the whole stack through all of them as opposed to later when you're doing just the polling places. I only run 5 through each, machine or whatever a small piece of that is that's appropriate to Hollymead and to Baker Butler or Laceville.
And Tyler will be here for that
Yes, I spoke with him.
Is there a
I-
time for that? I'm sorry, Jim.
time.
Tyler asked for 9 AM. If you all could do that, I can confirm that with him.
Well, unfortunately, I can't do it at all. We'll be in Arizona.
Monday, the 23rd.
Fortunate because I kind of actually enjoy it. As tedious as it is. That's
Great.
I'm assuming y'all will send something out to the parties when you have the time set
Absolutely.
for sure. Okay, thank you.
Can I confirm 9 AM what time? All right, gotcha.
What do you have noted on Friday, the 27th?
It's the LNA testing for the express votes and the DS300s for early voting.
Hang on, but I thought that was on Monday, the
Can you do
23rd.
that all in one day?
Yeah.
Well, well, Tyler doesn't have anything to do with the poll pads.
Okay. Yeah, because some of this I wasn't sure. If you can do all of that in one day.
If you got Tyler,
normally do. At the first LNA testing, we only do one express vote. Because that's all that will be used for early voting. We do up to 7 machines. Programmed to take ballots from the precinct.
Okay.
I don't know that we need 7 this time, but.
I'd like to have lots of spares just in case.
Just in case what?
Well,
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
hate to say.
And those will be the machines used for CAP as well, is that side?
Yes, cap provisional voting, there's cap by mail, cap post-election, provisional voting.
Right, okay, gotcha.
2 machines that are available for early voting in case you need a spare. And then, a couple of spare machines that are simply
Okay.
designated spares.
All right, so then you take off, move what's on the 27th to the 23rd.
Good, because they're not available on the 27th.
Okay, great. Okay, then when we go to March, I had a question. Do we need a poll pad refresher for the people working early voting before early voting? Because Alex and I talked, Alex would be able to do that.
I
It was
think,
necessary.
I think that would be good.
You might offer one session, but the overwhelming feedback from people using the poll pads is they're easy to set up, they're easy to use. So, the first voter you check in will be your poll pad refresher, but there's no harm in offering it as an optional training, but I wouldn't try to train all BEOs.
Okay. Just only the ones. If they wanted it.
And if they're new.
We
Yeah,
have
if you-
training later for the new ones, but
Yeah.
yep, that's a little bit later. Okay, so then we'll be setting up the early voting room. Just a reminder that early voting is in room B across the hall. And I did a little schematic for everybody. So we did the team, the registration team, we did a walkthrough yesterday morning and we visually placed everything and mapped things out the way we'd like it to look. The way we think it should go, we probably will. So we can talk about that in just a moment if you like. Here's one for you, Alex. You got the big paper. Okay. Okay, so we'll be setting up the room. We have actually into the weekend, so we might start setting it up on Saturdays. The 7th, and just make sure that we're ready for 6. So we will be doing I added a couple of other things on here. We'll be doing the large mailing of the absentee ballots, probably on Monday or Tuesday. We're going to be getting all of the materials.
that would be March 2nd or
I'm sorry,
3rd.
March 2nd and 3rd. We'll be getting the materials on Friday, tomorrow. We're going to work Saturday. We probably, we'll be close to getting it done. So whatever it spills into the day that we finish, Monday or Tuesday, if it takes that long, I put a deadline. I want to mail the big mailing by Wednesday. So the deadline is you must mail them out before early voting begins, but we want to give ourselves some make sure that that.
Your internal deadline is before.
Exactly, absolutely. So going on with the training,
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry.
So I don't remember the form for being on the permanent list. I know it says, do you want ballots for Democratic primaries? Do you want ballots for Republican primaries? Do you want ballots for general election? But does the general election also say and special election?
I have no
I
idea.
don't, what are you getting at?
Whether everybody that would normally get a general election absentee ballot is going to get the special.
Yes, they are.
I think the presumption would be they
Yeah,
would.
and even 18-year-olds, I mean, those who are gonna be 18 by the general election date, they are eligible to go.
They are.
Yeah.
Election.
Yes, they are.
Made sense for the primary. I'm not sure I see the connection.
In person.
Yeah, that's
In
right.
person, not absentee. We are getting some absentee ballots for.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because normally we're talking about 17-year-olds being able to vote in a primary because
Right.
you want to let them be able to vote for people that they are going to be able to vote for in the general election. But with the referendum, there is nothing going on in the general election.
Do we,
Elect
we
that
have
vendors.
that-
I
they
have
have
it
that
right in
in-
front
But
of
it
us.
affects who the representatives could be
Right.
in the general election.
Correct, it does.
so that's guidance you've gotten from elect.
Absolutely.
It may be peculiar to this amendment. Because it affects who they can see on the primary ballot and on the November
Okay.
ballot.
All right.
But I can also forward the guidance from elect to you, just so you can see it as well.
Guidance from elect is enough for me.
Where it came
Yeah.
from. Are you taking questions? Is
Someone using it? Yes, Claire.
Mr. Chairman, so does that mean that elect has sent out guidance on this issue?
Yes, they have. Okay, and then so we go on to early voting begins on the 6th. The electoral board meeting is on the 12th. And I moved, you know, like I said, tell me this is my first time scheduling. I'm just going on what I've seen before. The chief's manuals, actually, we need one more read through and it'll be ready to go, but we want to have it ready definitely by March 24th. And then the chiefs and assistants training on March 26th. We can give them. There's a newbie training on April 2nd, that's a Thursday. LNA testing for the precincts. The DS 300s and express votes on April the 6th, that's Monday. Poll pad training, 3 sessions on Tuesday the 7th, and Alex is going to do that training. The electoral board meeting on the 9th.
And that poll pad training is optional.
Yes, option, absolutely. I'll make sure I put that.
This is poll pad training for any EOs.
Correct, for anybody. Then the same day registration training, 2 or 3 sessions on the 10th. Early voting is open Saturday, the 11th. The first of 2 Saturdays. And I moved the cage check up.
I'm sorry, that reminds me. Did you check what I put on the website about these?
I
dates?
did, yes, they were good.
Okay,
It's the end of
good.
the 6th was over, I think, I forgot to.
Do we need same day registration training?
I believe we do. Because of what I saw on the canvas last time.
Well, that was a general election.
It would be nice
My
if,
guess is that the number of same day registrations I'm gonna have for this is
very small,
really small.
but it would be nice if they always told us if the person putting in the same day registration was a citizen. I'd really like folks to check that
Yeah.
question.
And we are going to, Lori mentioned this earlier this week, we're gonna have the frame. So that you can.
Oh, the template.
Yeah, the template. so
Oh,
we can-
that alone is worth training on.
Exactly. That is,
That's great.
okay, so check cages I put on the 13th or the 15th of April. LNA testing for the precinct poll pads on the 17th. On the 18th, it's the.
Hang on, back the truck up. Will the database be ready on the 17th for LNA testing of the precinct poll pads? Usually that's a weekend thing because the last day of registration is sometime right before that, and then it's got to go through the state, and usually it's not until Saturday
Okay, you did.
that we can actually download the data from Elect.
Is that?
get it up to date.
Okay, gotcha.
Because we want to leave those poll pads fully configured at the end of testing.
Gotcha.
No more updates after that, so.
Okay. So after early voting ends, so that'll be
So
on Saturday,
we'll-
also the 18th.
My suggestion is to check what Elect's schedule is for when registration stops and when their database will be ready, and we'll adjust
Normally
that.
that would happen on the Sunday.
Yeah, but only because Elect hadn't gotten everything done by Saturday. It's not like there were people.
Well,
ready
and
for
we haven't
Saturday.
gotten everything done because we have to get the last voter before we can load the election, right?
Right.
So I don't see how that can
Okay.
go.
Okay, now, so with the poll pad, is that what you're talking about, that e-pulse does? Is that what you mentioned earlier? That's the e-pulse piece. Okay, gotcha. All right, so on the 20th of April, I have the election materials pickup. And then the cages delivered to the precincts. Just a note about that, because that the invoice for that or the bill for that is going to be about $20,000. It's because it's over 10, I'm going to have to put it out for bidding again. So I need to search for at least 3 quotes. And then when I requisition it.
Can you get 3 quotes for 3 elections so that you don't have to do it again in August and again in November?
Sure.
I mean, they're in 2 different budget years, so I don't know
Sure.
if that's gonna work.
Okay.
We see those on the horizon. It's the same job each time.
It is.
Save yourself some getting of quotes time, and who knows, you might get a better deal because you're
That's
giving them more volume.
It's a good idea. Thank you. So yeah, so I put that out for bidding, so. Something I have to do. And then the election is on the 21st. And then I included, because these are big timely things that happen afterwards, the SDR's processing will begin the day after the election, the 22nd. And then the canvass begins on the 22nd as well.
And we will begin the provisional meeting at noon following, which needs to be printed on the provisional notices on the noon that they follow.
Okay, the one thing that I need to add in after we settle this is the cap processing. But my assumption is that it's gonna be.
You may wait to 7 days before you
Yes.
have to. Again, we'll see what's early voting. Yeah,
Pre-processing.
we'll see how early
And
voting goes.
the plan is to use this room for cap work.
I can get it, yes.
I did mention that to Eric when I saw him the other day. And he thought this would be just fine. I mean, see their work. Eric's the co-chief or whatever.
Okay. So,
Um,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I'm wondering about the newbie training. Being that early, because we tend to get, I don't know how many newbies we will be using, how many we will be getting. It's a little bit different for a general election because we're getting all these newbies right in the last week. And we want to use them, but the newbie training has already happened. And I'm wondering about moving that to a later date.
Okay. But
What do you all think?
No, it's a good idea. Plus, it's information that many of them don't have any placeholders in their mind for. So the closer you make it to when they use it, the better you increase their retention.
you want to move it to the 16th?
I think that'd be good.
I think that would be good. As long as we're not playing in the semifinals of March Madness.
Louis, you have a question?
Yeah, since we're on training, for those of us who go through training for the primaries, do we have to repeat for the general election to train all over again?
Chiefs and assistant chiefs have to be trained for every election.
Okay,
Officers of election need to be trained basically once a year. The rules are a little more complicated than that, but it boils down to at least once a year, or if you have any changes in the hardware or the procedures that you're using.
Okay, thank you.
But I would imagine that our chief and assistant chief training is going to be more of the refresher kind rather than 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Because y'all have been through it so many times in the last 2 years.
Okay, just a couple of, oh, yes.
That's the last day for registration.
No, I don't know. I have to look it up. I'll look that up as soon as I. Glad to. One thing I did want to mention, this, thematic, it's pretty tight in there. Not that we're not expecting it to be. And I've gotten a lot of questions about why it's moved. So I don't know if you want to address that or I've got a lot.
Well, Lori made us move it.
Why it moved from.
The suggestion was,
Mostly me.
the suggestion was that we did not need a large room A, which is available to the county for other facilities that more people could attend. And that it would make more sense with what we expect to be a lower voter volume to do that in room B. With the possibility that if, people are just lined up out the building, we might move to room A and take over the larger space and set up more machines, which is a reminder, we should configure all, and in the testing, we should configure all of the poll prints. Even if we don't, you've only used 2 of them in your configuration here, we should be ready either as spares or if we had to move to room A. So that was the idea, not to be wasteful of the limited county meeting resources.
My only concern, well, my concern is, will that room be available? Because the people, they moved, facilities helped us they cleared the way for our 45 days. I think there were at least 4 or maybe 5 other groups that had that room booked. So I'm thinking if they moved, they might have moved to room A, which is like what was available. Or
right. Yes, well, we should take both the rooms, but I'm fairly optimistic that we'll be okay.
I'm wondering though, if it might be possible to try to reserve room A for the last week. With the understanding that by a certain date, maybe 2 or 3 weeks out, we'll know what kind of turnout we're getting. And we can tell facilities management, yeah, we are going to need room A, or no, we're not going to need room A.
Well, it's a good idea. Just put in a reservation for room A for the last
Should we
week.
do that?
We'll have 2 rooms booked. We'll have that room and that room. I don't think so.
You can have 2 meetings.
Okay, my reservation about that is. I just don't think we should plan to move the polling place. I just don't think we should have a plan to actually move it. I think under emergency circumstances, which are fires and floods and all of
Yes,
this.
this is not the plan.
It's not
This
that.
is the contingency plan if there's a problem. An emergency would be voters lined up around the building.
Right.
Then we want to be in room A and take care of things, but barring that, and we, for definitely the last week of voting is the busiest time. We will see this freight train coming plenty of time early and go, no, we don't need this, which I'm 98% sure we won't need. But there is that 2%.
Yeah, I would
Couldn't we
consider it a
just think of that?
contingency plan.
I just hate moving all the machines, and I'm not trying to press the issue, but I'm just saying, I think moving the polling place is a big deal. Especially when you've been there for 35 days or 37 days. I just think that if we're gonna be in room B, which is not a problem, we're gonna make it work, we stay in room B. We actually talked about, our team, if there are lines, we actually set it up believing that there will be lines. So that if they don't happen, we're fine, and if they do, we're fine.
Lori said we have to move.
So because, yeah, and also we're very cognizant of, I'm going to speak with the social services because it's going to impact them a little bit.
Sure, flow of people in the building.
Absolutely, and coming in this way and going out this way so the hallway stays clear. And if we have to, if there's a line, if the weather's okay, we're gonna have the line outside, and that's why we have extra people here. But if the weather's bad and if you can accommodate it, we would hook the line around down into the neighborhood to that area. So, that was our concern, because we really feel strongly, if we're in room B, we should stay in room B and just tough it out.
I
and just make sure
agree
it's
with you
done.
wholeheartedly, but if things have gone to heck in a handbasket early on, I think we should not be stubborn about, we made a mistake. We should adjust for the good of all.
Agree.
I'm not expecting that'll be the case.
Well, then if we went back, could we just move to room A? And then so we're covered all the way.
Do it in room A.
Back to trying to be good county citizens.
I know, but in the good county citizens.
I'm not calling for a vote on.
A little water is thrown on that if we're asking people to move a second time. We've already asked them to move out of B, and if we ask them to move out of A, that kind of, it's like, oh, what are those people doing? I'm not playing devil's advocate. I just.
For a primary or a general election, I have historical data I can look at, I can make projections. I might be off by 20%, but I'm not going to be off by 80%. This, we got nothing. We don't know, we don't know what the ad campaign is going to look like. I don't expect the turnout to be large. But you just never, if they had all 4 of the amendments on the ballot at this time, then I would say, yes, room A, we need to be in room A. We're going to have enormous turnout, and we might need crowd control because people will be vocal about their thoughts. This issue, I think it's going to be below the radar for a lot of people. Not that I think it should be.
We have comments?
I have a question. I understand the logistics, size, scale, et cetera. Have you thought about the impact on voters of having a long-term tradition changed? In a time when there are concerns nationally, whether those are legit or not, we're moving where they have to go. So we're moving them from a different room, which also is going to mean you have to reorient them, who's going to get them there. But have you thought about whether people will wonder what this is all about? This isn't where I voted for the last 5 years. Why have they done
I
that?
don't think so.
What
It's the
does that
same
mean?
building.
You don't think so?
Jim-
And we've had
pointed
it
out
we've had it in room B before.
You have, okay.
Yes.
All this talk about moving is kind of crazy, but I think it is important to have the last week or two to expect a larger crowd. But there's no talk about, you're gonna have to add more equipment. You're gonna have to add more poll pads. If you expect to move from B to A, then you're not just moving. I mean, you need to move put more poll pads and all into.
We'll have all of the equipment pre-configured, and for the last election, Alex and me rolled everything down from the warehouse into the room. It doesn't take that long. It's not really that hard. It's all on wheels.
I was just sort of saying,
Well, we mentioned
in
before that right now we're only planning on having 2 of the printers in room B, but we are going, when we do the testing and programming, as Bucky mentioned, we will test and program all 4 of them.
5.
Five.
For the chief, yeah.
easier there.
And so they'll be ready to go if we did the move.
Liz, did you have a question?
Yes, with using, is it kind of room B, whatever it is?
Yeah, cross
When we
off.
used that in the primary in 2020, we had other people who work in this building who use that kitchen for their lunches and heating up stuff and whatever. And so there was frequently just, people coming in and out to use that kitchen. At that time, I wasn't a chief and didn't know the whole rules about keeping the precinct open only to people who should be there. So are we going to close that off to the other employees in the building who use that regularly? Or are we going to, for this case, allow that traffic?
That space is not available for people to walk through.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
That's the code. There's
So
just not a choice.
To let the other people in the building who are used to using that space and that refrigerator and
We
that
have to
kitchen.
chase.
Janelle and I did an inspection of that space. There's absolutely nothing in the refrigerator right now. And while
Oh,
the
interesting.
microwave is filthy.
It's not even plugged in.
It's not even plugged in,
2020, they were
I
coming.
understand. I think the situation may have changed.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Over here.
Clarabelle?
not so much comment, a comment rather, Mr. Chairman. In December and possibly even November, but certainly in December, we discussed the availability of room A. And the fact that elections, oh, let me think, critical infrastructure. We have to have elections. We have to provide for people to vote. If all of our election operations, meaning in-person absentee and cap and the canvas, et cetera, are all in room A, a locked facility, nobody goes in there except elections. Then the county people who have other needs for meeting rooms have two rooms, room C and room B. If we divide, then we are somehow occupying the potential for two rooms. So if you've got, you know, the Greater Farmers of Albemarle or whoever, or the bagpipers or whatever, the police, security, lots of people use these rooms. If all of elections are confined to room A, then everybody else has got two rooms. And I don't, in my, how many years of watching people meet that are other organizations in the county, they'll all fit in room B. So, many of them will fit in room.
Well, I certainly
See-
have come by here many, many times when room A is packed. with
You're
people.
right, and that does happen. But y'all have to provide for elections. And if you look at it from a perspective of elections will occupy one room. And it will serve two purposes, in-person, or multiple purposes. In-person absentee, the cap structure and the cap voters, the canvases, the provisional ballot meeting, Jim, will all be in one room. And then the county has access to two rooms. That might be a good selling point. I'm just saying that not moving facilities would be advantageous.
Are we anticipating that the canvas will take place in A as usual?
Probably do it in B.
Because it's just a small.
Yeah, that would be sparsely attended. We're wondering. What's the sense of the board on this topic?
My sense is still the contingency plan. Plan on the whole thing happening in room B. But we talked to facilities management about at some point, we can have a deadline that if things look like they're way more busy than we thought they were going to be, that we would move room A the last week. Thought at the moment.
Well,
You know, my instinct would be, well, I mean, again, we don't know how many people are going to be voting. My instinct would be just stick with the bigger room, but I think that I really want to defer to you fellas on this because you have more experience. I'm sensitive, Janelle, to your concern about moving everything. I mean, but it's not a security issue. I mean, it's not right. It's just a logistical
Yeah.
issue, right?
Well, and also it's a perception. Also, it could cause people say, well, what happened? What happened? Did they really move it? Nobody was there. And I'm just playing conspiracy theory, but there is a perception. If you pick up the whole room, and by that time of moving it, we will have a lot of things. A lot of balance, I mean, we will be settled in there.
at the end of the day, I'm not concerned about room B because I've run polling places that were not bigger than room B, and we've pushed 1,700 people a day through there. So we weren't printing their ballots. So that's a substantial difference, but I think we can make it work. I think we can even make it work in anything short of a general election, but I'm not going to push for that. So I would say we stay where we are, and if we found out we're wrong, then we consider what our choices are at that time.
Okay.
I think that sounds like a good idea.
Just like, what do you have in mind for like the line of voters? They're gonna be like out in the
Probably
lobby?
a bake sale, let's get some money from them while they're waiting.
No, seriously, I mean,
Yeah, I have the answer to that.
we'll disturb other people.
I have the answer to that. So we were gonna have people enter here and come out here. But when we walk through it and realize if there's a line, they'll be standing in that hallway. We changed everything. So if there is a line and the weather's okay, the line will go outside. And we'll have to have people along the line.
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
awning out there to
Yeah,
stand
there's,
under.
yeah,
if
there's,
it's raining.
snake it
You
around.
have to have
So they'll
somebody
be
at the
under-
door.
Yes,
there, and
exactly.
there are two greeters.
Exactly. So we'll have people there, but that's the answer. It's gonna have to either snake outside,
Your greeter at the door can be watching. So
exactly. And if we feel that it's better, we would, the circle, we would snake it around the circle and have them just go down the ramp. If roommate is open. So that's what.
Thanks. On the visual line.
Okay.
I think the longest line we had for last fall's general, which was a big turnout. Was never more than 20 yet.
Oh, no, it went all the way to the back.
And it's back to the parking lot.
Yeah, it went all the way. Some went down the stairs.
No tomatoes, no rotten eggs.
I mentioned one other.
Calm down.
One other thing, we will have to, we're gonna have signs and arrows because almost everybody's coming up from that parking lot. And they are gonna be pulling on that door and wondering why they can't get into those. So we're gonna have signs and arrows and a person and, just to make sure that we lead people to the right way and an advance notification as often as we can and as far and wide as we can that we see.
Yeah.
I wonder whether facilities management is going to be able to put up our big early voting sign on March 5th.
Oh, with the construction down there.
With the construction.
We can only do what we can
Check
do.
with that, whether that's going to be possible or,
May have to go in a different location.
yeah.
I don't know where that circle is going to go exactly, but
Circle.
I don't know why they're going so far into.
can't answer that. Next thing on my list is precinct staffing. How many officers of election are we going to plan for the polling places?
Thought on that. Relative to our conversation with the county public schools. Because there will be logistical issues in the precincts, keeping the voters and the students separate. That argues for a greater number of.
From a crowd control and standpoint.
They're very sensitive and understandably.
Sure, they have a responsibility to protect the children.
Right.
So you would think something on the order of what we had last November?
Maybe so.
We're gonna have enough people.
Feels like a lot.
Does it have to be the same at every place? I think the schools will have a few more, but we go a few and then all the schools.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it also depends on the setup at the school. So for example, if they were able to do a gymnasium setup that has exits to the outdoors and the gymnasium were just completely closed off to the rest of the school, that would be less of an issue. If we people coming down hallways.
Right. Well, and we may have some situations where we need to adapt. It might be that you're still in the gym because they decided they could give you the gym for the day. But instead of coming in one entrance and exiting past the bake sale in the hallway, going out through the school,
Right.
you go back out the same entrance you came in. But we'll need to make sure that our chiefs know that beforehand so they can arrange their polling places accordingly.
Has there been communication with the schools?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of these are in cafeterias. It's going to affect students' ability to eat lunch.
You guys want to speak to that? There was a call earlier this week with the schools.
Yeah, well, they had a lot of concerns, obviously, about logistics and safety for the students, which is their number one priority. And I think that the notion is that it's going to vary by school, the setup, and they are going to appoint a point person that we can work with, or Chanel's office can work with. So it's sort of a work in progress right now. We're having another meeting.
Can I add to that? There's now another group that wants to meet about this. I contacted Captain Martin, who is head of the emergency response team that we have for each election. And I told him about what was happening and just asking him if he would lead the team up again. And he said, absolutely. And then he forwarded what I mentioned to him about the schools to Trevor Henry, who was with the county, he's deputy county
The executive, yeah.
Exactly. So he wants to pull together another meeting in addition to the one that we're having this week. And so he will be in contact with us. He believes that the circle should be wider. And so he'll be in contact with us about
Good.
that meeting is.
Okay, and hopefully sooner than later.
Yes, yes. Yeah, Emily is out of town this week, but I think he plans it. I think he is gonna plan it for next week sometime. Okay.
Since we got on that subject, I didn't get an answer. Are there schools like the high schools that have metal detectors?
Yes, the high schools have metal detectors, and
The elementary schools, no.
no, that was what we were told. It's just in the high schools, and we said that that wouldn't be an option for voters to have to go through metal detectors. And they understood that. So that's something that we'll just have to deal with in the high schools.
If you're coming in the gymnasium as opposed to the front door, there may
Right.
not be a metal detector there. So
Exactly.
But do we want to mention what they asked about for the election officers?
yes,
Yes. Yes. If you're familiar with schools, when you go in, you check in and there's a little kiosk there that you put in. Well, the ones I've been, you put in your ID and you have a back little check against certain registries. And so they've asked, and we've pretty much agreed that all of the election officers that are working in these Albemarle County schools will need to sign in through that process. Not necessarily, doesn't have to be the first thing that they do. But again, that's a work in progress to figure out what time of the day that you do that, probably earlier than later, but that's gonna be worked out as well.
They did also say that could be done in advance.
It can be done in advance, yes, it can. But then we'd have to have
I don't know
people come
who
in.
does that as well. So I am wondering if they had the ability to just run the names through their program, because it's a program that checks the name against.
one of the things the school's making sure of is that we don't have sex offenders in the school. Registered sex offenders.
Yeah. So I think that's something for us to detail out, the logistics of maybe getting that done in advance for the election officers who will be in the school.
I appreciate I want them to be respectful of our needs, but I want to be respectful of their needs too. And this is one that we're clearly going to assist them with any way we can.
So how will that work?
So
Oh,
if there's a possibility to screen our folks beforehand,
That would be best.
that saves everyone some trouble because I don't want to
I
have to
think that
send
should be
someone
done.
home.
But one thing that rules out just the names is when you do that, you're saying you have to have an ID. 'Cause
Yeah,
it'll flag your ID
yeah,
versus just doing the names. If you put your ID in there, it won't flag.
right.
If there's something.
But then they would have to do it, and we would have to have everybody do it in person.
We would.
Yeah.
Their expired driver's license will let them vote.
Yeah.
I'm still not understanding what you're saying. There's some device that you stick your driver's license into and it does a background check on you?
It doesn't do a background, it just
Look
checks
you up against the registry.
Yeah, just
Right.
the sex offender registry.
Oh,
Yeah.
just
So
that.
it flags you.
Exactly.
It's
So,
not getting a credit report or anything like that.
right, it's not a full background check. Yeah, they wondered if everybody was going to be background checked, who was going to be in the schools, and,
We also have party observers.
right.
I don't know how many we will have, but the party observers are allowed.
Yeah,
And we'll have electoral board members floating around.
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah.
be checked out in each school we go into.
The answer to the background checks question is, the election officers that only work on election day do not have background checks. But the election officers that we have that do other things, work early voting, they get, they're paid differently. Those people are entered more fully into the county, and they have background checks.
Right.
So that's the difference.
Right. So some of the election officers already have had full background checks, but we just want to make sure that everybody has at least had this other level of screening before they go into the schools.
So, Jim, to your point about observers, you have a right to be there, but I'm not sure that the sex offender law has a carve out for people who can go to a school to vote because they have a right to vote. I'm not sure that applies to observers. So I think they still need to be screened on the sex offender registry. And perhaps it's something our learned counsel can research for us. I don't need an answer right this second. It's
But
just
they can do that at the site.
they could do that at the school, but there's not going to be someone there at 6 a.m. to scan your thing. It'd be,
Right.
when the office staff arrives.
Right, it's a little device that sits in the front office.
But
Of
it
the school.
requires a human to be operating
Yeah.
it.
Clarabelle, actually, let me start over here. Did you have your hand up?
I did, but Lori had, my question's been answered. Lori
Okay.
had been able to.
I may be missing a school somewhere, Mr. Chairman, but the schools have whether it's the cafeteria or whether it's a gymnasium, they have a means by which the voters come into just that area. Baker Butler being an exception because you have to come in a door and come down a hall. But it's easy to quadrant off, so you must come down the hall. And we have a chief from Albemarle High School at Georgetown. We're gonna have excuse me, are gonna have to have an officer of election or someone monitoring.
No, we understand the issue. That's been one of the topics of conversation
I
with this
understand.
group.
That may
It
solve
likely
your
will be
problem.
in different places in those schools, so we don't have to come down the hall.
Exactly, and that may solve your problem because you have to let people vote.
You have to let people vote, but I don't have to let, sex offender electoral board members in there or
Well, they can't
party
wander around
observers in
school.
either.
They can't wander around the school,
But you can't even be on school grounds.
but on
Is how
election.
that
Right.
law is written.
So I take it school's gonna still be in session.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
good for us, eh?
we forgot to mention that, sorry.
Right. Just for this.
Well, usually on election day, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's a rare
I'm
occurrence.
just waiting for them.
Yes, ma'am.
So two things, one on this topic, and I don't know the law on this, I'm obviously gonna look at it. I personally have no problem with you scanning my ID as an observer going in. But I do wonder what the law is on it, because I think observers have a right similar to voters to be in that space. And so I don't.
I don't know if there's a carve out from.
Right, there's a
don't know.
specific carve out in the statute for voters who are on the sex offender registry who are normally not allowed to go into the schools at all.
okay.
And there's a specific carve out in the statute that permits them to go into the schools just for the purpose of voting. Normally, it's not an issue because the election takes place on a day when school is not in session. In this instance, they're not able to accommodate that because they've had a lot of snow days and they're coming up against their required number of days. So it's gonna have to be.
Right. So anyway, just raising that issue. I
Yeah.
don't know where it falls with observers. And the second question is getting somewhat off this topic. Have you all started hiring yet for election day or early voting election officers? Have you all started making those calls?
This is the topic we're on, is how many
Yeah,
people do
well,
we
that's what I'm
need,
getting
so-
at to that.
Yes, we have, and
When does it
I've heard back from at least 10.
Okay, so is that still, I know in the past, the registrar's office has kind of kept that to a small pool of people for an early voting, and then election day is a much wider pool.
Correct.
I'm just hearing concerns from some people that they haven't been contacted, and why haven't I been contacted? So I'm just trying to find out, you guys have opened it up, but it's to a smaller pool. Is that fair? Is that?
I think I just haven't gotten to everybody yet, because I'm booking, scheduling for early voting, and Alex is scheduling for everything else.
Okay, okay,
And
so
so-
it's in process.
Absolutely.
That's what I'll share that.
Absolutely. But we are pulling in some new people, because especially if it is slow and we'll have those slower times, we wanted to take the moment to bring in some people who we can, can be trained at a
For small
smaller,
voting.
for.
They're available
Yes,
for the
yeah,
fall.
exactly. So some new people will come in, during that time as well.
So precinct staffing, we still don't, I'm gonna stay on topic for a
Right.
minute. Precinct staffing, we still don't know how many people we need, because we don't know where we're gonna be in the schools. We don't know what the turnout's going to be yet.
Yeah.
But we need to at least marshal our resources, make sure everyone knows that we've got this election coming, and get people starting to think about, are they available? I would strongly suggest we solicit our officers of election for expressions of interest if we haven't already.
Right.
I know I've started to send out a mass email using 10X to alert everybody about April, and also August and November, just have that pool there too. We're getting a lot of people's oaths and everything back, so I've been plugging that in.
New officers and renewed officers.
Correct. And filling that gaps.
And you did a mailing.
Yes, ma'am.
He did a mailing as well.
And so it's a consensus kind of that staffing at public schools should be roughly similar to what it was last November, and staffing at other places should be somewhat less.
I would say staffing in other places is more like a primary, and I would guess you are not going to need as many people as you needed for a general election, but probably more than you might for a primary at the
In
public
the
schools.
Yeah.
Just a few more crowd control folks.
Yeah, right. That's.
And that depends on the school. If you're coming and going from a portable unit out in, in the field somewhere, then
It doesn't.
it's a
Right.
very, making sure you've got good signs is the more issue there. Yes.
Our precinct is in the cafeteria. So.
Well, it has been in the cafeteria.
Yes, right. So does that mean
I don't think you're going to be there if they're trying to eat. So
right, so we'll have to move someplace else within the school.
that's my guess.
That's the.
Or you'll have, little
It's-
campers setting up lunch around you.
A school by school thing. I know in the past, there have been at least one cafeteria where they let the voting go on in the cafeteria, and the kiddos ate in their classrooms. But that's kind of what each school decides the situation will be.
Well, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing it up. If your precinct isn't a school, you absolutely might be moving to a different. And so we have asked the schools to include us. So if they want, like if they say, well, we told them, don't wonder if you want to move it here, call us, let us come out and help you survey the place. We've offered that to them. So for every school, we've said we can do it for every school. Just include us and we can help you get through the process. And maybe we could be in a smaller space than they expect. So we've just asked them to include us with the logistics of it. So that's what this meeting.
I would suggest if you have the opportunity and you can take with you a chief or an assistant chief for that place, that would be really useful eyes for them to think about, okay, we need outlets here, here, and there for these different things to plug in. And, we're going to need more extension cords or, all the little nuances.
That's really true because they were doing renovation to the cafeteria several years ago. And they had to move us into this tiny little room, and we had a hard time because we didn't have extension cords or, it was it was a small, it was a primary, it was big, but it was not fun.
And maybe we should just ask to go to all the schools. There's 17 of them. Maybe we should just ask to say, hey, can we see where we want the voting to happen?
Well, I would say that's a perfectly reasonable ask if we're not going to be where we have been in the past.
Yes, I mean, if it's changing.
Yeah, so if it changes, I think we should definitely get a chance to do a field review of that beforehand. And we can, certainly come after school hours so we don't disrupt their instructional day.
Or it might be good to go during school hours, so you see exactly what it looks like if, because say Dunlora is at K-Tech, so there's a hallway right there in front of where we check in, so, and the classes on both ends.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about K-Tech in just a minute.
Seeing what it looks like might be helpful.
Okay, so precinct staffing, I'm getting the strong feeling that we're to be determined what our final numbers need to be, but we want to ramp up more people than we probably would for a primary. Difficult primary. We talked about schedule for training and LNA. Albemarle County Schools follow-up. We touched on some of that, but let's talk about K-Tech, which is not in the Albemarle County Schools group any longer.
Yes, I sent you all an email. Various problems with K-Tech over the years, partly because of that city part of it. Now the thing is all city. It's not a county public school. Determining, is the property actually city property now?
It is. It's owned by the Charlottesville.
And so we're going to have to work with them. And I am sure they're going to, their first answer is going to be, no, you got to go somewhere else. But I think working with them and with the legal department there and with perhaps the registrar's office in the city, we'll work out some kind of deal as best we can and get it done. I think whatever room they can give us is what we'll have to take. But I have the initial contact information for the facility itself, not for the higher ups and central office and all that, which are gonna, I know, be involved. But this is gonna be a difficult one.
I don't want to get into any details, but just a simple yes or no. Do we have a working contract to use?
I was just about to not, it had been a
School.
We did not have an agreement with them. And it's my understanding that the property was ceded to the city about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. So this is, more recent development.
Mhm.
Now, we haven't had, since it was totally ceded to the city, we have had at least 2-3 elections. And we haven't had any particular problem this time. The last time was when they were going to do this big renovation, which they ended up not doing at all. But anyway, we haven't had, I'm not aware that we've had any blowback from K-Tech when we've said, okay, the election coming up, the primary coming up. And we have a comment.
Okay, did you have a question?
I would just say that K-Tech is very nice to us. They are so helpful, so welcoming. They have the room set up for us when we get there. They stay to undo it for us. They have been, and even in this last fall election where we all knew and it was clear that it was the cities, we've been very welcomed. It has never been a problem as long as I've been doing this, which is maybe rolling into my 3rd year.
Here's hoping that continues.
Yeah.
But I assume K-Tech will be in operation on April 21st, whereas it's not been in operation for a fall election.
And we come right through the front door and down one of the main hallways. And we are in an open space, so to speak, that butts up to an open hallway.
And I know there was at least 1 year where you were somewhere else, not too far distant past. I can't remember where you were, but I was somewhere all the time. So I have offered to kind of be our point person on K-Tech along with Andrew and legal issues involved. And I do have contact information. So sometime soon, I'll make a call. Although it was also suggested maybe Janelle should be involved.
You decide.
Hmm?
You decide.
do it, that's fine.
If you're familiar with them, it might be better.
Pardon?
If you're more familiar, if you are more familiar with them.
Would you guys work on this together? You can transfer this responsibility to the registrar. Um, other
Slaughter.
locations, yes, Slaughter, sure.
I was just saying, do we need to talk about slaughter?
Slaughter is coming along very well. Initial contact with Slaughter was, no, we have academic classes in those rooms that day and I can't cancel them. Okay, well, we do have an agreement with you. We do. Thankfully, it was the day before that told us about that letter. Andrea, then I had her send it's not an MOU, but basically an
The
MOU.
letter from the executive vice president of UVA.
I had that sent to the main person at Slaughter Rec, and he appreciated that greatly and said he'd be taking it to the provost's office and he'd be working on getting those academic courses changed to somewhere else. We did have the fallback that if they wanted to move us, and actually the letter has us being in a different location than we've ever been in, but and if they wanted to move us, fine. I will guarantee there will not be a big turnout at Slaughter Rec for this. Even the school will be in session, but it didn't say anything about moving it to another room, so I didn't either. So I think we'll good shape as far as having it where we normally have it there.
Anything else we need to do in preparation for this? Yes.
The satellite location survey.
Oh, yeah.
So
We didn't
we've
put
looked
that
at
on.
all of our satellite locations and we found that they're fine. Electus said, if you didn't already have one, you don't have to get one.
But we have to fill out the form anyway, which I'll detail.
Of course. But no one anticipates needing a satellite voting location since we previously decided they don't work particularly well for us. Okay. Thank you. Anything else for the
The only
special
place
election?
we ever used as a satellite location was in 2020. Our electoral board member had a drop box that he would take out to the Albemarle High School parking lot. And he would stand in the parking lot with the drop box for 6 hours or something like that. Actually got some business, amazingly enough, but that's the closest we've come to having a satellite site.
That's an odd kind of vote harvesting. Yes, Liz.
Sorry, I just want to go back to the early voting and staffing of early voting. Those of us who have typically worked it are used to hearing a little bit earlier because we have plans to make. And so, like for me, I've just been kind of holding my calendar open. I don't know if I'm going to be asked to vote or do early voting this year or not, but if we could get notification sooner than later so that those of us who typically work know what is expected of us, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So anything else on the election?
I didn't want to get in the fray of the earlier conversation, so I know we've moved on, but I'd just like to speak up on behalf of the voter and the election officials that work early voting. We would like to be heard that room A is where we do early voting and where we feel confident that the security that we've built with the voter shows in where we hold elections, and to continue to use room A if that's an option. I feel, and please chime in if you'd like to, but I feel helps voters feel comfortable with all the changes of every election that kind of handhold everybody. I think room A would be a better choice than moving around in the facility. And I understand the facility needs and they're valid. But from the voter worker perspective, consistency is really important. I just wanted to go on record.
Yes.
Thank you, Peyton.
Thank you. Anything else before we move on? The next item should be brief, even though there's so many little dashes by it. The local election security standards. We have a March 1st, 2026 report due on the local election security posture, which I assume you're already working with Sagar on. I'd seen a few emails back on that, but this is the whole less thing.
Yes, I talked to him this morning.
And we're not going to talk about any of the details of
No,
that, just the
no.
process.
We have a meeting tomorrow morning,
Okay.
and then we're gonna meet
And-
again next week.
There are things you have to do in the state site to check us off and tick all the boxes.
But
If there-
that's the security thing that is probably 80% technical
Yes,
software IT has to answer. I could never answer.
no,
Any
it's
of
just,
it.
this is really,
We got to sign off on it, but it's really the IT people that have to do the majority of the assuring that, yes, we have this and yes, we have that.
yeah, the point of this agenda item is just to make sure we're all have these required dates on our calendar. We've got the March 1st date, put that in. April 1st, if there's a remediation plan, how we're progressing on that. May 1st is the acknowledgement by the electoral board of those things. And then by August 28th is the annual review of our local election security standard document.
That one is a different thing, it's less.
It's part of that process.
Okay.
Part of that,
But that's the one where we actually go through and say, okay, we've got this many machines.
this is how we take
keep
care of them.
here and blah, blah, blah.
And then we sign off on it. But we don't send that to the state. We just have to sign it at the end of the year. That's all. Just want to put that on everyone's calendar. If there are no questions about that, then other items. Is there anything else we need to talk about today?
Can I just mention about early voting? If you are interested in early voting and I haven't contacted you, please email me. My email is jmcfadden@albemarle.org. Just email me. And then I can take it from there.
Did you want to say anything about where you are in hiring, or did you want to hold that for?
I've hired a part-timer. She'll be coming in. I believe she's gonna come in on, we can get it done March the 1st. Bucky will be glad to hear this. She has web experience and we've already talked about, would you like to do some things on the web? And the answer is yes to that. So we can maybe start moving some things over. I'm down to the last few on the, for the utility and for the deputy.
So you're still interviewing for this?
Yes.
Do you have any sense of when that process will be buttoned up?
Well, I'm trying to do it by the end of this month. Yeah, I need to get it done before.
It'd be nice to get those folks on board in this election cycle so they can see that before they hit 2 more later on this year.
That's true.
Our next meeting is currently scheduled for March the 12th. You know, seems okay to me unless there's a need for something else.
I'm kind of guessing there might be a need for something else in the interim. I think we're dealing with the schools and K-Tech and all that. I think it would go ahead and make it something, if we decide we don't need it, we don't need it. But I have a feeling we'll kind of need it.
What did you have in mind?
Something like March around March 1st.
That's a Sunday.
Okay. What do you think,
Um, any early March is good for me.
Yeah, do third. Second.
Only the second's clear for me at this time.
Or. Second. Do second.
See if I can get us removed. Have this room on the second. No, March 2nd, 9 o'clock. Very good.
We really haven't gotten anywhere on anything.
It's easier to do than to schedule. If there's no other business, then I would like to close the open part of this meeting, and we'll reassemble from who has departed, maybe 5 minutes from now, in a closed session. And in that closed session, we would, gosh, what are the special words? I don't have a, do you have the special words handy? Would you make a motion with the appropriate special words so that we can look at staff? You can read the motion, I can so move it.
Just a moment, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, yes, we did. Yes, thank you.
Way too fast. I move that the Albemarle County Electoral Board convene a closed meeting pursuant to section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia.
Discussing staffing for our election and potentially contract matters.
Under subsection 1, to discuss and consider prospective candidates for employment. And under subsection six, to discuss contractual matters involving.
So moved. Is there a second?
I second.
Since we seem to be
Yeah,
in favor,
Right.
motion carries. This part of the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for speaking up. Everyone on the call, if y'all could drop off, that would be great.
Mostly joking, but and I don't want to be.
Could we, the dates for the training?
I did not say we should do this. My thing
Suggestion
was.
if
give the
it's-
increase to
Yeah,
me.
right.
That's exactly how
I
it's.
want you to think that like.
We're doing this because Lori said.
Yeah, right.
It's gonna be my story.
But I know, I want y'all to do whatever you. I'm not at all like, it should be in that. And I think that's so racist, the Queens, so you guys have some.
Just having.
Yeah, okay, no, and that's totally. You didn't want to, I was saying now, because you weren't here. I'll ask you.
I remember.
You are, okay.
Right.
You know, they're just like. The information, I just my own.
Quick question for you.
Days of.
Yes, the days that you want to work. That's what everybody's doing.
You mean.
Would you like this envelope?
Yes.
Staple postage.
We could write on.
I know.
But I need.
Got one of those.
That's not on the 6th, right? I can go 6th of April.
No, think about signing.
Give me Angela 18.
On
election day,
I'm not mailing that one.
The last.
Get it?
I know I'm working Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah,
Assistant Chief.
Yeah, okay. So that's Jay, the fact that Alabama. Just email me today.
Everybody else has dropped off. That's great.
Jay,
Unavailable. Oh, should I say this? Yeah, please. Okay,
That way I can-
it'll be a while.
Recording once again, we're coming out of closed session. We have a motion to do so.
The certification be move that the electoral board certified by a recorded vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion authorizing the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Everyone voted in favor. Very good. Jim, you have a motion for us?
I move the appointment of 9 officers of election for a term of 1 year to begin March 1st, 2026.
And those names to be included in the minutes.
Be included in the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Is there any other business before we close this meeting? Thank you all very much. And we'll see you back on March the 2nd. Second to the motion to adjourn. Hearing no objection, we are adjourned.
The property that Nancy